I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned as a leader is that, yes, you're a leader, but you need support. You can't do anything to the level that you want without having the right support and the right team behind you.
It's so much easier when you have, even if it's just a small group, when you have a small group of people that care, you can do anything. You can move mountains.
If you don't have that solid support system, you limit how high or how far you can actually go.
Welcome to the Next Up podcast. It has been a eventful morning, and I have two awesome guests with me. And I guess we'll go ahead and get some introductions, and you can tell us why today was eventful. Ervin, you want to go first?
Okay. Why do I go first? Anyways,
you're on the end.
Well, today, my name is Ervin Watson. I am a consultant, independent consultant. The name of my company is Vantage Resource Group, and I provide consulting services to student nutrition. Actually, I do many industries, but my favorite by far is student nutrition. And today I had the honor and the privilege of doing a keynote address for Shani Hall, who is the general manager in Hillsborough County Student Nutrition. And we did something that was a little bit different because the workforce in Hillsborough County is at least 50% Spanish speaking, and we wanted to do a keynote that was going to capture their attention. So instead of doing a keynote and having Spanish subtitles, we did something a little bit different. We took away the subtitles, and I found a colleague named Ricardo Vidal, who used to work with Disney, and asked him to co-present. So we did the same presentation on customer service, but I spoke to the English-speaking audience, and he spoke to the Spanish-speaking audience. We went back and forth, had a good time, and had some fun. And it looks like everybody had a good time and learned something. So that was fun.
For being in the audience, it looked like they had a great time. But if you had to guess, which group was more hype? Was it the English-speaking group or was it the Spanish-speaking group? Because there was some competition happening.
There was some competition happening, but I'll say this, in sibling rivalry, the baby brother comes along and gets the advantage of seeing the mistakes of the big brother. So to answer your question, yes, the Spanish-speaking audience did get the chance to be more hype. But the English speaking audience, they did their thing. But I believe if they knew they were going to be in competition, they would have represented.
I was actually hoping that you were going to let them go again and name the four letters, because it didn't turn into a competition until Ronald made it a competition. Ricard, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was that. I thought about that, and
I saw it in your face.
You know, because I don't like to lose. But it was. I wanted to leave it. I didn't want to make it feel like it was a negative competition and we're trying to one up you. But I thought it was really good to leave it there. But I was this close to.
You're a better man than me, because I for sure would have won again.
Yeah, I would. Now, if we had to go back and do it all over again, I can't tell you I wouldn't turn into a competition. We might still be there now, shouting each other down.
So Shani, how are you doing today?
I'm great, thanks.
So what is your background? Obviously, Ervin, I know, but for everybody out there listening who may not have caught you on our first podcast together, do you want to do a quick intro?
Sure. So I'm Shani Hall, General Manager for Hillsborough County School Student Nutrition Services. Been in this role since 2019, and prior to that, I was in Georgia with Georgia Department of Education, and so I've been in school nutrition a few years, and this district's really big, and as soon as I got here, speaking of this, so we're in 2024, and this has been a challenge that I identified in 2019 because we have such a diverse workforce, and we do one meeting every year with all 2,000 employees. That was the meeting today. So we only get together one time per year. It's a massive event, and it has been such a challenge to communicate and train and just make our Spanish-speaking staff feel included. So I really feel like, regardless, I liked it that they were louder, because it was the first time that I really felt like they were part of it.
Oh, and
Yeah.
they made their presence
And they
felt.
made their
Yeah.
presence
Yeah.
known. They wanted to be there. And so, you know, it meant more to me that it went the way it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like they appreciated it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, their energy, like everybody, like it was definitely one of the better all manager meetings I've been to. It was pretty cool to be able to be there and to watch you guys do your thing. Irv, you crushed it, your team, and you did an amazing
Yeah.
job. It was pretty neat.
You know what?
Thank you.
I keyed in on one thing that it just occurred to me while you were speaking, and it was that they made the correlation with the hula hoop exercise that we did, and somebody in the audience yelled out. All I had was the hula hoops up there, and I referenced the hula hoop experiment, and someone yelled out, "One team," and I said, "Okay, I don't even really need to close this because
They're
they got it.
closing
They got it.
Yeah.
They got it."
Yeah, they got it. So you two go back pretty far. How'd you guys meet?
Well, way back in the dark age. No.
It feels like
You guys aren't that old. Come on.
old enough. But
Right.
it was 2005, actually. We both were working with Cobb County
Yeah.
Schools.
Okay.
I was a school nutrition manager, and Shani was a coordinator or regional supervisor.
Yeah.
And we didn't work directly. We kind of were like ships. We knew of each other. We knew each other. We spoke and so on. But I never really worked with her. But when she went to work at the State Department, and I was looking to get out of the day-to-day operations in the school system, and I applied for a position working in the training department, and lo and behold, I come walking in there, and who is there? Nobody but Shani Hall herself. So we worked together there, and you can tell the rest. How about that?
Yeah, that was super fun working with Ervin. We, like Ervin said, I mean, we didn't get to work together directly, but we both knew we had military in common. Both were in the military. Before.
You were in the military?
Yeah, I was
Oh,
Air
thank you
Force.
for your
She
service.
was
Yeah.
Air Force.
I didn't know.
Uh-huh.
See,
Okay.
Yeah.
When I found out she was in the Air Force, I knew something was special about
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, we have so much in common, as a matter of fact, that and I think we knew that about each other before we went to DOE, because when we got there, but then we got to really spend some time together and grow as trainers. And I was in charge of training directors, and he was in charge of training managers.
Yep.
And it was
Okay.
really fun because we were doing separate things so we could collaborate with each other, because we both had separate assignments. And it was great because we have a shared mission of, you know, I think for both of us, we feel success when other people have success. And I think for both of us, it's like when everybody gets the light bulb on is just what really lights us up, I
Yeah.
guess. And so then when I was moving to Tampa, and I didn't have the job at Hillsborough before we moved, we were moving for other reasons. But then I got the position, and I was calling Ervin, and I was like, "Do you want to come down here? Because I really could use some like-minded
She tried to recruit me to come down here to come to work
for a long time."
Yeah.
So I was
My wife
trying.
had a different idea.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I was dreaming, but I was.
Never hurts to try.
It never hurts to try.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you know, Marlon, the former director, had been there a long time.
Yeah.
And when she retired and then COVID happened, just a new vision was needed. So it opened up the door. And so once we got through all of that madness, you know, then it was like, then we could really see where I could take this program. And Ervin's been talking to me throughout the years about, you know, my struggles, and just what we've been working on has been centralization, because in this district, like some throughout the country, every school was, I guess, because now we're starting it, but was supervised separately by the principal, even though they were under the school nutrition program. And so there was
That
not
makes it challenging.
standardization. And so that's been something that has been turning a massive ship around. But we're doing it. We're actually doing it this year.
This
We're
year.
starting it.
Okay.
And so Ervin's now a consultant helping us through that.
All right, so I have two questions. The first one is, what did you do in the Army? Like, what was your role? And then the second question is, how in the world did you turn the ship to be able to take over supervision of the cafeterias within the districts?
Well,
or within the schools?
I was in the Air Force and I was a dietitian. So
Okay.
that's my background. So
Okay.
I was a dietitian and medical officer
Okay.
in the Air Force. And it was a wonderful, experience. We weren't at war, so it was wonderful.
Were you stationed here or
No,
overseas?
I was stationed at Andrews
Okay.
Air Force Base in Maryland, and then I was stationed. This was a dream assignment at the Air Force Academy
Oh,
in
cool.
Colorado. Yeah,
Neat.
Colorado Springs, Colorado. So it was
Easy assignments.
dream.
Yeah. What-
I know that's what everybody says.
What did you do?
I was a services specialist in the Air Force, so I was in charge of it's really weird food services, billeting, which is the on-base hotel lodging, and we also had the field feeding during wartime and search and recovery. Don't ask me how search and recovery got grouped into that. And if a plane crashes, we go out there and find and plot the body parts and all of that. But thankfully, we never had to utilize that training.
Yeah.
So
Thankfully. Have you guys come across many other school nutrition professionals that served in the military, whether a dietitian or something else?
There are a lot of people. We do have a lot of veterans that were
Okay.
prior military that work in our kitchens. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, and it's really great. You can always tell when you see them on the resume.
yeah,
Hire him or her.
Yeah.
Have you met Spencer Taylor yet up in Nashville? Because he's a dietitian and he's in the reserves now.
Oh.
But yeah, because it was like he was the first person I met that actually served in the military and still is serving. That
Yeah.
was a RD and is in schools. And I was like, I didn't know you guys existed. I don't know why I never thought about that, but yeah.
I tell people that are looking at the armed services, armed forces. Tell them the Air Force is one. If you're looking for something that's more like a normal civilian job, if you want to go out there and carry a gun, sleep outside, shoot people, then you definitely want to go Army or Marines.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing this for college or what have you, and I'd push them or steer them towards the Air Force just because the assignments are more. It's more like what it's like, what the jobs are like in the civilian space. And now the Air Force does have special forces. They have those that are out there combat ready and all of that.
Dudes.
Yeah. So, but most people that are looking towards the Air Force aren't looking for that.
Okay.
And the skills are very transferable. I went to college for hotel and restaurant management. I thought I was going to always stay in hotel and restaurant management. That's why when I went in, I stayed basically in that vein. But there are you can do so many different things, and it's all transferable once you get out into the civilian world.
So Shani, how does the food compare in the military compared to schools?
Well,
they have less regulations, right?
they actually have regulations too, but at the time it was before Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act and all of that. So yeah, I think much more just kind of like veering toward low fat.
Yes.
So I really wasn't dealing with that side of it when I was in the Air Force. I was a clinical dietitian.
Okay.
And yeah, it was really great. You know, one thing, I did do my internship with the Air Force and to become an RD. And the one thing I say about that is to dietitians who are thinking about going into the Air Force is it does not, or did not at the time, include a school nutrition rotation. Now I'm a internship preceptor for USF here nearby and Kaiser University, and I wish that it had been introduced to me earlier than it was.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people, a lot of dietitians actually, or that are going through the internship program, they have no idea that school food service is even an option. And then when they go and do their rotation, they're like, oh, school food, this is going to be boring or not worth my time. And they get there and they fall in love with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was funny. So I've been going to Fancy. My mom was on the board, right? So I get a chance to go to Fancy and hang out.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some dietitians that were either my age or older, and they had the same feeling. Like they didn't even know a school food was an option. And then like when I would bring around a friend that's actually in school food and now they're sharing their experience about working in school food to these other clinical dietitians or whatever they are, they're like, you see the light bulbs go off in their head like, oh my gosh, like I missed the boat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
There's
awesome.
nothing like it. School nutrition, there's nothing like it. That's why when most people find it, they don't ever leave it.
Don't ever. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't get out.
Stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the country's best kept secret.
It is. Yeah.
So let's talk about steering the ship.
Yeah.
That is a massive undertaking. Like how,
Yeah.
what was that like? Getting that approved and
Well, and thanks to Ervin's help and guidance as someone who understands where we came from was centralized. And so, or at least mostly it was. And so we had that shared experience. And then, of course, his leadership experience outside of school nutrition and with big corporations, because Hillsborough County is such a large district, being the 7th largest. And
How many schools do you have?
we have about 235. I say about because
It's always changing.
it's always changing, but about 235 schools. And it's massive. And every school's like its own little city. And you're right. That is, how did it start? It started through conversations with district administration. And even the superintendent said, when I got in front of him with a plan, he said, I understand it seems like a good idea. Why would you want to do this? Because it seems like it would be far too much work. Why would you want to do it? And I said, well, because I see potential in what we can do and what we can be. And if I don't have, because that's the challenge, you know, I want to be one of the best. I want to be a leader in school nutrition. But when you go to a school and the principal or administration or just in general, school staff doesn't value the school nutrition program, then they don't enforce regulations. They don't support when they need help, you know. So you really are at the mercy of whatever that particular city is. And you can request and you can direct and you can do stuff, but without any authority, you can't make sure anything happens.
Did the principals push back?
Yeah.
What was their biggest reason for pushing back? Because, I mean...
Power.
Yeah.
Authority. I mean, some were like,
Please take it.
Some were like, take it. And we are just actually launching now. We have 27 schools that we're launching at the beginning of the year. And then we're going to take on an additional probably 27 more at Christmas. And then we're going to take on more at spring break. That's the plan. And so we've been, you know, speaking to all the principals about what's going to happen. We've been speaking with those particular launch principals. And we chose a variety of supportive principals. And the ones who were ready were like, they don't even want to be involved. They're like, we are ready for here you go, you know, and that's really great. And most of the other ones are open to it. It really just comes down to, you know, to be very honest and just be very transparent. It really comes down to, you know, that if they needed something to be done and they felt like they could order that staff to do things outside of their duty. Yes, outside their scope, supervise kids, things like that. Because they're dealing with shortages in teachers and shortages in custodians and shortages all over the place too. So they, on their behalf, I can say, in their defense, I guess, they were just filling holes. But this is a staff that they were able to fill holes with, and that is something that's stopping.
Yeah, they were just trying to do their jobs, but you have your job to do.
Correct.
Your job is to feed kids,
That's
just like
right.
your staff's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not supervising.
Correct. Not in watching kids or,
So do you have the custodial staff too, or is that still under the individual schools or the principals?
Custodial staff is under the schools, and they tried to centralize a few years ago, and it failed. And so the district, when I presented this this question to them, they said, we support you because we really want to do it with other departments, and we feel like if anybody can do it, you can do it. Do not fail.
No pressure.
When
No
I
pressure
told
there,
Ervin, I
right?
was like, okay, we can do it. We
that's
cannot
awesome.
fail. That's the directive from the district. Do not fail. We want to do what you do and keep good records of what you do. And they've been very interested in watching what we're doing. When Ervin's we started with, of course, just kind of defining what the goals were. But after that, deciding that we needed to really build the leadership at the top because they were not, you know, they were supporting, but they weren't directing with authority the managers. And so we really needed to, you know, pretty quickly get some leadership training, the type of leadership that I wanted. And because you know, everybody has their own style, and we really want to be partners. I think that was something Ervin and I developed at first when we were talking about goals of how this would work. And he's seen what's worked in corporate America and also what has and hasn't worked in districts. He's worked in districts of different sizes, all set up differently. And so that was one thing he was bringing was, and I'm already kind of a partner anyway. I'm a partner personality, collaborator, that type of thing. But with so many personalities, he was really saying, you know, from the top, we need to teach people to be partners, to see the other people's view, the other side's view, and to build bridges instead of dividing.
Yeah.
And that, I'll be honest with you, just in Hillsborough County being so big, that was a change of culture like I can't even describe to you.
Yeah.
Because of the way we were set up, no one was communicating. If we wanted to communicate, we were immediately put on the defensive by whoever we were communicating with. And so we're still going to be building bridges throughout this whole process. But I think arming the leaders with that knowledge and really modeling the behaviors that we want to see, which are different than what they're used to, is what's going to help us succeed.
Absolutely. Tearing down the silos.
Tearing down the silos.
Don't you have a restaurant called The Silo? That's right. It's on the district office, right?
Yeah, well, it was.
It was? Okay.
It closed in COVID, and we haven't opened it back up.
Not yet.
We're going to.
Yeah, soon. So you have 2,000 or so staff members?
Yes.
How many different, I guess, districts you have within your district or regions? Do you break it up into different areas?
Well, it's funny you say that. So I
Should I not have asked?
I want to hear you answer this one.
We had 9 regions, but our regions weren't the same as the district regions. We just had 9 supervisors. So we, at some point, we matched with the district. The district's gone to 5. And then they have elementary, middle, and high regional superintendents. So they don't really use the regions anymore either.
Okay.
It's mostly level, and then whoever's the elementary in this area report to this deputy superintendent, for example, a regional superintendent.
Gotcha.
So we had 9 areas that were not already matching theirs. One of the things the superintendent said about centralization was you need more supervisors. You have to have, they have to have less schools. And so we hired 3 more. So we now have 12. We're going to see how that goes. We think we'll probably grow to 15 or 16 is what we're thinking eventually.
Okay.
So that right now they're having like 18 schools, but I really think that, 14, 15 schools or even less would be the goal for them to really be able to be there for their sites.
How do the employees feel about the new leadership style?
All over the place.
Yeah?
I mean, I think they're nervous of change, number one. Change is hard.
Yeah.
Even though they might agree with what I'm saying to them, change is hard.
Yeah.
But I think that we're doing a really good job of communicating that this is for them.
Yeah.
That this is to help them.
Let me jump in here, though. But with that question, though, they haven't actually experienced it.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't started the school year yet.
They haven't started the school year yet.
Yeah.
So employees, all of this is uncharted territory because it hasn't. We've worked on preparing the managers, which is the role that I play, but to actually see, we haven't even had a scrimmage game yet.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, if I was to put myself in their shoes, I would be excited about this. So I don't have the principal breathing down my neck all the time. I have the support of people in my space that, like, I know, like, they're on my team already. They're in food service. They have my best interest in mind. And they're there, but they're not always there. Like, you get a little bit of freedom to kind of, like, do your own thing and hopefully do it successfully. But you have the true, like, support of your district staff now and your managers and supervisors.
Well, that's not, that's a perspective that you have, but one of the biggest challenges in Shani and I, this really drove a lot of the creation of the project plan was the fact that most of the people that are operating in the Hillsborough ecosystem, school nutrition ecosystem, only have the experience of Hillsborough County. For example, many of the regional supervisors that are now going to be supervising the managers and their staffs these regional supervisors were former managers.
Gotcha.
So they grew up in this ecosystem or in this process that was already existing, but they didn't have the skill set that is required for what you're getting ready to do.
Gotcha.
So it's all about change management, and we talked a lot about capacity. That's one of the reasons why they added the additional regional supervisors, because one of the things that causes any major change initiative to come crashing down is when you're unaware of the capacity, the real capacity. So many times you put more on people than they can actually take because you don't know. And then they're so used to trying to just make it happen. And then these really essential pieces of it just keep falling through the cracks. And before long, you're saying, you know what, this isn't working. Let's go back to what we were doing before.
So as a leader of leaders, what do you guys do to prepare somebody for a position that you know they're capable of, that they may not know they're capable of, but they want to go forward with it?
Give it a little bit more. I'm not sure if I understand it.
So I'll use me as an example, right? So I have never, I shouldn't say never, now I do, but in the past I didn't want to be a leader because I didn't feel I was capable, qualified, worthy of leading. Obviously I am. I just refused to accept it for the longest time, but I wanted to lead, right? But it was like an insecurity that I had. So like, I'm sure you have staff like that too. They're in these new positions and they're going to be leaders, and it's like they want to do it, but they really don't know if they could do it. So like, how do you encourage and motivate and train them to get ready for their job that they're eventually going to conquer one day?
You know, that's a great question. I love the way you phrase that, because what you don't know until you jump in there. So when people they're not sure, or they want it, but they lack the confidence. It's really important to be able to draw out the smaller successes that they've already had and draw paint or drop some breadcrumbs leading to that next higher leadership position or leadership responsibility, wherein you've already demonstrated leadership in this area and it's easily transferable. I think about even in my own life, I had that. Most leaders will go through that process of, am I qualified to be a leader? And the first leadership position that I was presented was actually I had it when I was working prior to the Air Force, but when I had a leadership position that they wanted me to assume, and I was going through the process of thinking about, am I qualified? I've never led before, but then I just thought about, I've been the big brother. I've taken on new responsibilities at a part-time job, being a team captain. These are all leadership positions, and they're just at a different level or different requirements. So for that person that wants it, but may have never done it, it's getting them to see where they've already done it in their past. And now we're just going to help you to do it on a different level. But the other key is making sure they also realize, I have done some things, demonstrated this skill set in my past, but letting them know they're not going to do it on their own, that you have a support team. You're never going to be by yourself. And, most people that are in leadership, or a lot of people in leadership, can't really have that story where I had somebody holding my hand through the whole process, or at least I know I didn't. But having that confidence, that can help to boost their confidence, knowing that they have a support system.
Yeah, support is key. I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned as a leader is that, yes, you're a leader, but you need support. You can't do anything to the level that you want without having the right support and the right team behind you. Yeah.
Yeah. The support is so key, because the support team is like the scaffolding for a building. If you build the scaffolding solid enough, the structure that you build, it can go as high as it wants to. But if you don't have that solid support system, you limit how high or how far you can actually go.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was the theme of the meeting this morning?
We are better together.
Better together. You want to give us some key takeaways from that?
Well, Better Together was something we actually started a year ago, and it was the first, when we were first presenting, that we wanted to centralize, that it was wanting everybody to feel like they were part of the same team. And we just got back to doing an all-employee meeting last year after missing several because of COVID. So it was really trying to get everybody to connect and to say we are all members of one team. But it fits in with what we're trying to do with centralization, because when everybody's rowing in the same direction, then we can obviously do great things. And we had such a great year after presenting the We Are Better Together last year and being able to function more as a normal school nutrition program this year, finally, with supply chain problems ending and being able to hire staff. And it was like, oh, now we can actually do what we've been dreaming about doing for the past 3 years. And, you know, getting people involved on the back end of, here's what our vision is. We're all together in this. I think that was probably what helped us do. We really achieved a lot of goals that we had set, and having the chance to share that vision with everyone only helped us to keep everybody engaged. And so this year we were going to think of a different theme, and then it was like, why? Because why don't we just keep the momentum going and then bring on the new staff in the same fold? So, so we may have it for a while because it really is, it's making, it's giving the feeling that we want to give, which is we are all together and we are better together.
Can I add something to that? And I don't know if Shani remembers this, but we talked about me coming in doing a keynote last year, but it just couldn't work out. And when we first started talking about doing it this year, and I was asking about the language barrier, the first question I asked her was, well, when we're trying to figure out a large group and doing 2 presentations and so on, one for English, she said, no, they want to be together. So even though they started the We Are Better Together last year, it just continues. They didn't want to have a English-only audience and a Spanish-speaking audience at 2 separate times. They wanted to come and be together, which says a lot about the culture, the culture change that is taking place and the impact that Shani's had on the district.
Oh, I love that. So I was there acting as Irv's paparazzi today. I hope the pictures came out good.
Amazing.
But as I was going through the pictures to make sure I got the shot that I was trying to get, I had a flashback of a conversation that I had with you a while back, and you were talking about the employee challenges that you had and staffing being down because of the pandemic. And the number that you told me back then, I was like, oh my gosh, like how are they surviving? And then I'm looking at this picture, and there's thousands of people in the audience. I was like, she made it. Like, they bounced back, probably stronger than before. And this is absolutely amazing. That was just a cool moment I had in my head, and I just wanted to share that with you because it was a need.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me because there were some lean times there when it was really difficult to function, and just we didn't know what each day was going to bring. We didn't know if we were going to make it. And we always did. We always made it by the grace of God and by those people that are still in that audience. And they care so much about our kids, about the students. And, it's so much easier when you have, even if it's just a small group, when you have a small group of people that care. You can do anything. You can move mountains with that. And, kind of speaking to that, it really helps me kind of explain why I think our centralization is going well, because going back to how do you build leaders that maybe weren't leaders before, our supervisor team, one thing that my leadership team, we're trying to be very supportive, but also very transparent, because I think that was, and that's one issue we're dealing with every school being different, is that there was kind of like a, nothing to see here, like everything's fine, nobody really knew what was going on. And I think our supervisors were in some way like that too. Like they were like, I don't want anybody to catch me doing something wrong. So I'll just say everything's fine, you know?
Yeah.
And that was something that I said, you know, we can't build this team if we don't know what's going on so we can all fix these problems. Even if you yourself, you knew there were problems, didn't know how to fix them or even part of the problem, because nobody means to cause a problem. But sometimes, you know, you just don't have what you need to fix a problem. So you just ignore a problem, you know, but it was a safe place to say, okay, here's the vision. This is what we want to see. We want to be the best. We want to be, you walk into any kitchen at any moment, and even if it's not perfect, you know, the people don't feel afraid that you're walking through the door, because we understand there's challenges.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And there's going to be issues with food, and there's going to be issues with staff, and there's going to be issues with students. But that's real. And I've always told them, I will take real any day if you own it. I can defend you any day with anything if I know about it. And if you were trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Don't feel like it has to be, you know, perfect. Because I remember when I first started here, I'd walk into a school and it was like a bunch of ants, just, you know, and you were just, what is going on? You know, they were so afraid that I would find something.
Yeah.
I'm so afraid that I would do something. When I understand, you know, having grown up in the school nutrition world, and it was, yes, after the Air Force and my clinical dietitian days, but having worked and covered and washed dishes and ran the line and covered for managers, and it's all the same. And it's not fun days sometimes.
Yeah, it's a tough job.
It is a tough,
It's a
job,
tough job.
and you have challenges, and it's heavy sometimes, literally,
Yeah.
and you know, and so we're really just trying to really give that impression too, like, let's really be real about what's happening, and let's truly try to find solutions, because that's the only way we can really be supportive and move forward.
You know, that was one of the things I say this to Shani all the time, but she downplays it. But one of the things that I admire most about her in this process is her courage, because she's doing it differently than most of the, or I shouldn't say, many people in school nutrition are. There's a playbook that we go by, and a lot of things that try to accomplish with the talent that you have in house, and limited to, we can do this, we can figure it out. But Shani recognized that the skill set that we need to help build the leadership acumen is not something, we don't have that on our team. We don't have that in house. So we need to bring someone else in that can do this, because we still have to take care of schools. So to try to do all that and identify, maybe do an assessment to identify where some of the low points or weak points, or some of the weak points that you need to strengthen, or spend the time coaching the leaders and helping to talk them through some of the issues, while you're at the same time you're giving them different tools. We've done a couple workshops with some things that her team hasn't seen before, and I know that it's challenging the way that they think.
Yeah.
But trying to utilize these tools at the same time, trying to handle all of the nuances that are a part of student nutrition it's just challenging. So it was courageous on her part to actually bring a consultant in from the outside to do that piece that a lot of folks just actually try to do on their own. And her leaders have been they are
eating it up.
They are
No pun intended.
thirsty for, they are hungry for the things that we're doing. I mean, some of the workshops that we've done, leadership workshops that we've done, and the dialogue that comes from them. I leave there sometime when we go on a break. I go to the bathroom by myself. I'm like, wow, did that
goes
just
deep.
yeah.
It's true.
I said, wow, they went there, and that gives me the greater confidence. I know they're going to succeed because they're being intentional about how they're adding on to those skills.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, look, I don't have the answers. The answers are still in this room. I think that we shared this in another podcast. The answers are already here in this room. We just have to mine to find them, and they really have stepped up.
So why is it valuable for school districts to bring in a third-party consultant, and why do you think it's also valuable to? Let me rephrase that. Why was it valuable for Shani to bring a third-party consultant, being you, with the experience of non-K-12, like coming from the corporate world or restaurant world?
I'll answer that, but I'd also like to hear Shani's response on that one. But I think it was important because my background, when I sit down and I fill out my resume, it looks like I've been all over the place. I've spent a lot of time in the restaurant and hospitality industry, in business. I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years, always had some sort of business going on. So we've done, my business partner, I've done a couple of startups. So I have a broad array of experiences. And on top of that, 17 years in school nutrition. And it looks like I'm all over the place. But what it is when I look back, I have amassed a lot of experience from a lot of different areas and been able to put them together, all built around my one passion, which is leadership and growing leaders, helping people become the best version of themselves. But it's so important that you can get myopic and have one track, I shouldn't say one track mind, you can limit the solutions that you have if you only talk to the people that think like you do, and therefore you're not going to get the best possible outcome. Give you an example. Many schools do shoot videos, make videos, and so on and so forth, promotional videos, and they do it in-house because of budgetary reasons. But if they want to get an outcome like can be produced by NxtGen, they're not going to get a NxtGen quality on a DIY budget. Yeah. So it requires that next level of thinking. How can I bring someone that already has the expertise, not just the expertise, but the passion for what it is that we're doing, and help them get there. And
one quick thing, for those of you watching, you may think that you can't afford us. We also might. Just keep that in mind. He also might be able to.
I'm a firm believer. Yes, Marlon he might be able to work with you. So so absolutely. But I'd love to hear Shani talk about her thoughts and experience with that.
Well, I think particularly in a district like this one, although probably most of them are like this, it's the culture is we do it the way it's always been done, and so it's not often that people are thinking about using outside consultants in school nutrition. They'll just call their friends who are other directors, or they'll call the state department or whatever for budget reasons, or just, that's not what we do, and they don't understand us in the outside world. And then you also, when you talk to other educators, they're like, oh, but we've used this person who's like, a longtime teacher who has zero understanding of the side of this that needs to be self-supporting, and we're not just making decisions based on one side, we have to be making decisions based on all sides. So I think just in general, people aren't looking at consultants, but I could be wrong, but it doesn't feel like they're looking at consultants for leadership and that type of thing. But Ervin, of course, is the best of both worlds because, as he said, he's got varied experiences in all sorts of industries. And what that does is it gets us out of we do it the way we've always done it, because he's bringing in thoughts and rationale and how-to from for-profit places. Places that, yes, we need to be self-supporting, but, we don't think about profits or things that in that way. But really, the only way we can really go forward is if our eye is on that, because that opens up possibilities to do more and to up our game when it comes to food quality and bringing the right amount of staff in to lead our people and the right amount of people on the staff to work in the kitchens, to give them enough money that they want to stay with us and to feel valued. So I think it's a place that school nutrition programs in general could really grow their own departments in different directions if they were to open up their mind outside of what they're used to. It's nobody's, I don't say nobody, some people are probably thinking of it, but in my experience, they haven't been.
Yeah.
We had such a big thing I was trying to accomplish that it was never going to happen without a consultant. It was never going to happen because I don't have time. I'm barely, able to even talk with Ervin. We're working on this project, and it's just being a school nutrition director of so many schools. I would never have gotten it done.
Yeah, I add this to it because one of the things that I share with other businesses, other consultants that are in different industries is if they could have done it themselves, they would have already done it.
Yep.
And
Truth.
And so that's the reason why these things don't happen. I think what Shani had was I just said, okay, this is what I want, and I know I don't have the capacity to actually do it, to do it well. And what ends up happening is sometimes you say, okay, well, we can do that ourselves, but what you end up with is, a VHS tape versus next. So,
True.
and so that's why it's so important. And I'm excited because it's something that I'm passionate about, developing leaders and building up people, because that's the number one asset. There's nothing that happens in student nutrition that does not happen because of people. If you take the people piece out, you still can't. I don't care how much automation you do. Some person has to do that. So we have to equip those people, those leaders, with the best possible skill set, because the job market it's dwindling. People aren't running in droves to student nutrition, even after the increases in salary. So how about we take some real action steps toward building our most important asset, which is the leaders of the schools.
I love that. So whenever you guys complete the centralization and you have your leaders built up, what next? Why the big push for this? How is this going to move your program forward? I know you mentioned like food quality and that sort of thing, but what are you thinking? What's the dream?
My dream is that we can be the next, we're always on the innovative side. We're always looking. Our one thing that we really accomplished this year was local. We're really focused on Florida Fresh for several reasons. Of course, it's healthier and it's better for the students, but Florida has so much agriculture, and our students in Hillsborough County, many of them, because big portions of our county are farms. And so many of the students are actually farm kids.
Yeah.
And so it just was like, how are we not getting these foods on the plate and getting our money back into the state, essentially into the families that their kids are going to our schools.
Yeah.
And there were just a lot of restrictions and boundaries with that. But one of the things was, how were we going to break through these existing barriers? And so we made such strides this year because we were able to do Florida Food Day, where on one day the entire menu was sourced from Florida or grown in Florida for every school. And that was...
For every school?
For every school.
Wow.
Every school. And that was my goal. I didn't want farm to school to just benefit certain schools in certain areas. We wanted to say if any child in Hillsborough County was going to benefit, then every child in Hillsborough County was going to benefit. And that's the kind of thing that we can do when we have like-minded people, and we're all pushing forward because, for example, like before this push of everybody better together, you'd have schools that just wouldn't serve what you had on the menu. You know, they just wouldn't do it for whatever reason. Usually not because they didn't want to, but because of other things. But
we're not going to talk about those things.
But, you know, but we did it at every school.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of thing that then we can share with other districts is how did we do that? How do we break those barriers? How do we form relationships with farmers so that they were forecasting their crops for us, because that's what we did. We said, you know, and we didn't do a ton. We were able to do 4, where all schools got, you know, the Satsuma oranges, corn, green beans, and strawberries. But then the Florida Food Day, which was most of those foods, plus some beef from Miami and our local milk here in Hillsborough County.
Oh, M&B?
M&B, of course.
Yeah.
M&B Dairy.
And that Miami beef is
Yes,
delicious.
it is.
I actually had it at the Florida State Show
Yeah.
years ago, and it blew my mind. And no joke,
Yeah.
it rivaled the same beef I had at the National Restaurant Association. Like,
Wow.
it was good.
It was amazing.
It's out of Miami?
Miami.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that was just amazing. And I shared it at Council of Greater Cities with other directors of big districts. And they were like, wow, if she can do it, I can do it. And that's what I really want
Love
to
that.
be. I want to be the example for other people to say,
Yeah.
she did it, so I can do it. Because ultimately that benefits all the children. And so that's what it looks like to me, is we just want to be on the cutting edge of what can't be done. And we're going to prove that we can.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. So I had no idea, and I probably should have known this, but I didn't know that corn was a crop here in Florida.
Yeah.
And I actually just found this out, I think it was maybe like 2 weeks ago. My friend Dick Held from Dick and Jane, he has these new publications
Yes,
that he's
he
making.
does. For different districts he's making,
And he was pitching the idea to me, or sharing it with me, and I saw Florida, and I was like, there's corn in Florida? I was like, what are you talking about? Is this right? Can you fact check this? And he was like, yeah, look it up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was blown
I
blown
know.
away. So you said you want to be inspiration for other districts. And that is one of my favorite things to do, is to inspire others and to help other people inspire other people. Because like even like walking around ANC this year, Sean Sacco, he used to work at Hillsborough County.
Yes, yes.
I recently did a podcast with him, right? And multiple people stopped me on the show floor to share their experience of listening to that episode. And they were like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that there were other districts doing this. But now not only do I know who's doing it and I can reach out to them for like advice, but now I feel inspired to do the same thing. And I have something that I want to share with the both of you. And no one has seen this yet.
Okay.
Well, maybe a couple people internal. But we are launching a new campaign, and we just filmed a video for it. So I want to inspire other people, all right? I want to inspire the entire industry. So I'm going to play the video on this TV right over here so you guys can see it, and then we'll do an overlay in the video podcast so those watching can watch it with you.
Okay.
But keep it real.
Okay.
Let me know your thoughts. But I'm real excited to show this to you, and let's go ahead and do it.
All right.
Okay.
Let's see it.
Oh. Hi, I'm Marlon Gordon, founder and CEO of NxtGen Network. And you know what? School food service has a branding issue. But before we get into that, allow me to introduce myself. What do you think was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome in having your own in-house marketing program?
There were a few challenges initially. We were just ready to launch the program.
Solomon comes out. But this isn't about me. It's about you. For the past 4 years, my team and I have been building relationships, learning, growing, innovating, and disrupting the school nutrition space. And now it's time for something more. It's time to change the perception of school meals. This is School Meals is more than a campaign. It's a movement. For far too long, the general perception of school meals has not been the reality, and we need to fix that. over 28 million students participate in the National School Meal Program, and over 14 million take advantage of the school breakfast program. And for many of these students, the meals they receive in school, that's the only healthy meal they receive all day. And these meals probably aren't what you expect. Our students are offered healthy and delicious options to fuel them throughout the day so they can grow up to be the leaders of tomorrow. Operators, those working in school nutrition programs, run their programs like businesses, and their dining spaces feed more mouths than any restaurant feeds in any community. Industry members, those providing solutions to school districts, are constantly innovating to provide operators with not only food that tastes delicious, but the equipment to prepare and serve it, the tech and the AI to track it, and the training to empower individuals. But most people don't know this. This is School Meals, is a movement to educate the masses and to show them what school meals is all about. And to me, it's about excellence. Excellence with a purpose. And that purpose is to feed our youth. And the excellence, well, we're gonna put that in full display for the world to see. School nutrition has a branding problem, for now, because we're gonna fix it together. Who's with me? So what do you think?
Wow.
That was great.
Yeah.
Wow.
For so long, I've talked about changing the perception of school meals. And I've kind of done it organically, but I've never really done it like as my purpose or as the mission. And now I'm starting to finally accept my role as a leader and in my influence. And I have an amazing team and I love the industry and you guys are doing amazing things, but you don't get the credit for it. And I cannot, like, it infuriates me now when I hear someone speak badly about school meals. It drives me crazy because there's been so many times I've had a meal in a school that was better than the meal I had the night before, all right? So in my head, I kind of feel like it's a branding issue, right? Because, you know, a brand it's the perception someone has of a certain product or service or whatever, right? And I don't think like a single industry member can help fix a problem. I don't think a specific school district can help fix it, or an alliance, an association, or whoever it is. It needs to be somebody that is in the middle that can bring everyone together and then tell the right stories and help control the narrative and just, you know, show what school meals really are. So I'm gonna give it a shot and see how it goes.
I love that piece, and it was the first thing I thought of. And forgive me because I can't remember who it was, but it was approximately 2010, maybe. There was a Shani, you'll remember who it was. There was I think he's a British.
Oh, the guy that trashed school meals. It's gonna bug me. I know you're talking about
He's English. Yeah, you're right.
So
Yeah.
but you know, and the fact
He
that
who
we
must not be named.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the fact that we
Forget
can't
about this
remember his
guy.
name
Yeah.
says a lot about
Yeah.
the validity
Right.
of it. But I was looking at that and I said what you just depicted is so much more powerful and realistic, because maybe we are in the industry and it speaks to us, but that reaches an audience that may not necessarily, that wouldn't see another type of marketing. So I'm kudos to you.
With it?
Absolutely.
Kudos to you.
I agree. I think it's one thing, as you alluded to before, you know, school nutrition programs don't have the budget to be able to produce something. Unfortunately, it's just not always forefront on our mind either with time constraints. And so everybody has in their head the image of the food they grew up with.
Yeah.
And they automatically go to that, whatever that was. For some people, that was really good. For most people, it's negative because that's all they know.
Yep.
And if that's all they know, that's all they know.
That's
it must
all they
be
know.
true. And this not only kind of shatters that perception, but also is so well produced that that people are going to be interested in watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this kind of, it spurred from A&C. So between A&C and now, we put this together. So
Really?
just, what's it been, like 2 weeks?
It's been
maybe
barely any time
2
at
weeks.
all. Yeah.
And so my journey's been interesting. So when I first started the company, like all I was doing was consulting, and I was doing like marketing consulting. We were doing social media for school districts, professional development. And one of the things I always, told people and myself was that I was never going to pretend to be somebody that I wasn't, or to teach or to lead in an area that I wasn't cut out to lead. So I would surround myself with leaders, and if someone needed something, well, hey, I can't do that, but this person can, right? So I was all about that. And then the pandemic hit, and then we kind of had to shift gears, and we started focusing more on industry because we were offering free services to school districts, right? And I was always very much, I'm so aligned to people that work in operations because I come from operations. Like, those are my people, right?
Right.
But we had to focus on industry because, you know, I got a family to feed, and I got kids, and I got to make sure the team's taken care of and all that. And that journey kind of took us more into the, like the retail commercial space. So we do a lot of work with Informa, Nation's Restaurant News, National Restaurant Association, and like Food Management Magazine and Food Service Director, and we kept getting pulled more and more in that direction. But after going to A&C and getting fired up there because of some things I was seeing and hearing, and just thinking about my mentors and my friends like Ervin saying, you got to focus, like pick a side, right? I was like, you know what? It's school meals. Like I feel like my journey outside to the retail space was meant to happen. That was God's plan. But it was meant to build these relationships and make these friends and learn, and then bring them into school meals, and then help them bring that innovation, and then teach people in school food service how to do the things that they do, but with the tools and whatever requirements that they have in school nutrition. So I'm kind of trying to tie everything together to help change the perception of school meals. But a lot of that starts in the districts too. So like we've gone back to serving and supporting districts. Like we're working with DC Public Schools, Baltimore City Public Schools. We have a few others. We're doing social media for them. We're doing marketing. We're doing branding. We're making these type of videos for them already. All sorts of fun stuff. And then I feel like if I can empower you guys to help change that perception of school meals, you can then help me by providing me the content to share it to the nation, so you can be the inspiration to that director in New Mexico or wherever that thought he or she couldn't do this thing that you're doing. Well, now I've connected you to them, and now we're all working together to change the perception of school meals.
You know, when I saw that, man, my mind went to how to take that, what the product that you produced, if there was ways to personalize pieces of it for a particular school district. If they shoot their own, or you shoot some footage and you have your editor fold that in, it could be the same thing.
Yeah.
They're just showing it in the different communities. It changes that, because my wife is an elementary school principal, retiring at the end of this year, and we worked long enough to realize that, you know, now she's got students that she taught or that came up with, that she taught back in the day. Now she's teaching their children, and that younger generation, not the students, but their parents, capturing that, you know, if you can capture that group through the marketing and changing that perception, changes it for everyone and everything. Yeah. But that type of marketing, and it seems targeted for them. It's not targeted. That may not necessarily be targeted for me or Shani as a parent, because, you know, my youngest is 19. Yeah. But targeting that group, I think this is school meals. I want to, if I can say sexy, I think that was a sexy
I'm here
video.
to make school meal sexy. Like,
yeah,
let's be real.
that was it.
Yeah,
so.
and you know me, I like setting the bar super high. So I feel like, and you guys, like, school nutrition deserves it. Like, there's no reason why they don't deserve a high quality production. They're feeding kids. Like, we are investing in the future. So you guys deserve the best. And I feel like talking about targeting, I think parents are people that need to be educated. And I called one of my friends, Stephanie Spitton LaPasco. We used to work together at Pasco, and she's since become the director. And I was like, what are your thoughts on this idea that I have? And I told her what was happening. She hasn't seen the full video yet. I sent her a clip, but she was like, I feel like one of the biggest things that parents don't understand is that there are brands in schools that they buy in the grocery stores too, right? Like, but the version of it in schools is actually better than the one that's in the grocery store. And they just don't, a lot of people don't understand that, and we're going to help educate them. But I need your support. So please like, share anything, any content you can share with NxtGen, please do.
Absolutely.
We're going to not only put it on social media, but we're going to put it in our publication called Served. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like we need a team. Like not one leader or organization or entity can do it by themselves. We all have to come together and fix this problem that we have, and it's fixable.
But I even see, I saw two visions as it was playing. One was seeing it out on a billboard on I-85, I-75 going through Atlanta, but the other was in partnership with, say, the professional sports teams playing and connecting. I know you're already doing a lot of that, but I can see something like that being played as a promo at a professional sports game or what have you, and capturing that large audience and changing the perception of it, because we're already disciples of school nutrition.
Yeah.
But it's getting the ones that are not the disciples to understand what it's all about. So
yeah, I didn't even consider about putting it like playing it at a professional game or something. That would be awesome.
That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah. So it's a Super Bowl commercial, huh?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'm serious.
I don't know if we could afford that.
You think I'm lying, but
I might have to find a sponsor for that one.
yeah, you can, but that's the key, and I believe that, because I believe that what you're doing is you're operating in your gifting, that your steps will be ordered. So if that's in the future, you don't even need to try to work on making that connection.
Yeah.
That connection will happen on its own.
Yeah, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yep.
And regarding your comment about kind of like chopping that up and using it different ways. So lately, for the past, I'd probably say since before summer, even before I even had this thought, we've been intentionally overshooting at all of our video productions within schools, with permission, of course, because it is so difficult to find stock footage of school meals, kids eating healthy, nutritious, delicious foods with smiles on their face that they're being served in a serving line from school, not brought from home in a lunchbox.
Right.
Because that's what you can find. I
Yeah,
know.
that's everywhere.
Yeah.
That's everywhere, but you can't find pictures, especially videos of people actually taking part in National School Lunch Program or breakfast programs. So we are working on that right now, but once again, like, it takes teamwork. So those willing to share, let us know. We'll share it for you.
Right.
Share that inspiration too.
Yeah, I'm definitely willing to share. And I think another, just to jump in, I think you've done an amazing job capturing so much visually in that promo, or whatever you call video.
Yeah.
One thing that to Stephanie's point, another thing that parents make assumptions about is that our food is, like she said, the same brands in the store, but that our food is lesser quality or unhealthy or chemical laden. I think that the same generation that you're speaking of, the parents, they question and they expect more. And part of, like, if we were going to do what, say, we're working on really clean labels, and working with manufacturers to say we demand dye-free and we want no high fructose corn syrup, and those things that now we know are dangerous to growing children. And this generation knows it, because they're the ones who are calling and saying, I only feed my child things that don't have this or don't have that. They want to know. And that's another area where big districts like the one I work in, we have a lot of influence on producers, and I think that's the kind of thing that if we could somehow, I don't know, visually or whatever, can show that we're actually, not just does it taste better, but it's better.
Yeah.
It's just better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's better than what you are probably buying yourself.
Yeah.
And not just because it's healthier and lower in sugars and all of that, but that, you know, there really is a concern out there over what the food is doing to us just as human beings, and that school meals is a safe place.
Yeah.
You know, that we're pushing the envelope. And I don't know how you communicate all of that, but that type of thing is the way to communicate it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the dyes. So like those dyes are a real thing. And like when I first started hearing all the talks about dyes and food and all that, I was like, yeah, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But then I realized that my son has something with red dye. And whenever he has red dye, he turns into like a different person. It is the wildest thing. Like if he ever starts to act out, what did he eat? Something with red dye. Every single time.
Yeah.
It's the wildest thing. And I appreciate the fact that I could send my kids to go to a school and to get a meal, a lot of the times not paid for, and it's healthy food.
Yeah.
And there's going to be no artificial nonsense in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. It gives an opportunity to do that even clinical dietetics didn't do. You know, and school nutrition is the one place where you can actually influence, not just have fun and teach kids about nutrition ed and make tasty food, but you can actually influence the health of our future in school meals. It is such an opportunity, and that's what you're trying to say. It's one of the things you're trying to say.
There's a lot.
And there's a lot that you're saying, but what a great way to say it. We don't have anybody doing that.
Yeah.
That's, you know, and it's interesting because today Shani shared that Hillsborough County is they're serving no high fructose corn syrup. That needs to be, that could afford to be, even if it's a small little blurb on the local news.
Yeah.
That, hey, they're just announcing they're quick to share all of the negative things that are going on out there in society. But if there's a way to that, because, you know, there are amazing things, as you know, because you also go across the country working with different districts. There are amazing things that are going on within student nutrition, but, you know, you don't have time to actually.
Yeah.
Do you have time to put together something on that, because you're moving on to the next thing, or school starting next week after next? So. But those are things that I think are, so many of those things are noteworthy. So I think even with what you're doing, you know, is also a great part of maybe even them sending these little bits into you and you're able to put it out there. So it's just, there's a lot of great things that are going on.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate that a lot of school nutrition programs don't have a marketing or a PR department that's dedicated to them. Like some of the larger districts, yeah, they have it, but the smaller districts, that's rare.
Yeah.
It's absolutely rare. And at the same time, the ones that maybe even do have their own marketing, they're not able to build their own brand through the district. Like, because the district education side wants to be the brand, but a lot of them fail to realize that you guys are restaurants. It's like a franchise of restaurants, and you guys are your own brand, and you need to be able to compete with the other restaurant brands out there. So whether we can help train staff to become their brand, or if we could build a brand for them, or even just share their social media content across, you know, their community or across the country, we're happy to help in any way that we can. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'll tell everybody out there, if you're looking for somebody to help with the branding.
Hey, he said it, not me.
He's not paying me to say this, but I do know that the quality of the work that he does is top notch. So.
Wow, thanks, man. And, you know, thank you both today for hanging out with me. Thanks for letting me come hang out at the all-employee meeting. You crushed it. You threw a great meeting. And thanks for the conversation here. I know you came out of your way after a very long day, and I'm super grateful. So thank you so much for doing that.
I was so honored that you asked.
Oh, and hey,
It was a
these
great
doors
time.
are always open for you.
Thank
You know
you.
that. You know that. And Irv, coming down from Atlanta, doing big things, consulting. I love it.
I'm coming to work with, the benefit of coming here is I'm coming to work with friends.
Yeah.
So it's not really work.
It's not,
not
work
really
at all.
work.
It's not work if you love it.
Not if you love it. So, but enjoying it. So thanks for having me as well, man. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And thank you all for watching.